All right, the Bookkeeping Dad here. Going to be a different video we do today, and I've been wanting to do this video for a while. I just have not been able to find the time. Just like a day in the life of the Bookkeeping Dad. A remote bookkeeper, a bookkeeping business owner, and a father. My day-to-day is very different from probably, I would say, just about everybody else's. Me and my wife both work from home. Our son is here with us all but pretty much 3 hours of the day. I'm balancing all of that and running a successful business. So I'm going to give you an insight into what that looks like. Here we go. Just a little history of the Bookkeeping Dad. I didn't always work in accounting. Wasn't always a bookkeeper. I actually worked in logistics for a transportation and logistics company for about 5 years before I did this. Probably the last 2 years I worked there. I did bookkeeping on the side. I'm talking nights, weekends, and probably regrettably, I'm actually on the job. Sorry guys if you're watching this. But it started out, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week. Finally grew over the course of 2 years. I'll never forget the last week I worked both jobs. I worked 40 hours in my day job and then probably put in another 35 nights and weekends bookkeeping, and that was obviously not sustainable. So July 2020, switched. Now I only have one job, a full-time remote bookkeeper. This was obviously peak COVID, so my wife started working from home. She works an office job, in HR. So it's a little more rigid than my schedule. As a bookkeeper, she's more of a 9 to 5. I'm a more of a just get the work done when it needs done. Doesn't matter when. A month later, after starting this new full-time venture, we had our child. He was 2 months early, so that was a bit of a shock. We were at least somewhat prepared for that, but it was definitely difficult. Starting a new full-time job, being a new full-time dad was a lot to balance. So what does my schedule look like now, being a full-time bookkeeper, full-time business owner, full-time dad? Every day is a little bit different, depending on what's going on, obviously, but it is pretty standard now at this point. We've been doing this for over 3 years, so we have everything down to a science. Some days it's more of an art than a science, but we definitely have a plan. Daily, it's emails for me. It's transaction entry and categorization for clients, and then pretty much more emails. I try and jump into everybody's books at least weekly, at least once a week for sure. It makes closing the books at the end of the month a lot easier if you have everything caught up throughout the month. Instead of spending 3 hours closing somebody's books, it may take 15 minutes. Makes getting everybody's reports out super quick and effective at month end. On a weekly basis, I have standing meetings, standing weekly reports. I send a couple clients, and then I'll have a weekly payroll I run every Wednesday. Thursdays and Fridays are definitely my busiest days. Fridays pretty much a whole day spent on one client that I am essentially their full charge bookkeeper. I do their onboarding, sales tax filings, bill pay, bank recs, workers' comp stuff, their IRA. I'm it for this client. And then on a monthly basis, it's similar. You can combine all the other stuff, the transactions, month-end close, bank recs, which you should do every month. Payrolls, we run payroll for probably 7 or 8 clients, and some are weekly, some bi-weekly, some bi-monthly, on pretty much every payroll platform available. Gusto, JustWorks, QuickBooks, ADP, iSolved, which is probably my favorite if you've ever heard of it. And then I'll have review calls with clients. Just a few. Not everybody wants this or needs this. I'll send financials to just about everybody. But otherwise, they just want to make sure it's done. Right now, we are running about 35 to 40 clients, and I'd say 85-90% of those are monthly clients, which means I do their books every month Some are quarterly, a few are yearly. They'll come back every year and say, "Hey, can you clean up my books? I got to file taxes." We've seen that more and more for the smaller sole prop client, sole proprietor, which is totally fine. Not ideal, but we'll do it. And then a normal day. So I have a 3-year-old, hence the bookkeeping dad. What does that look like working from home with a 3-year-old? So, terrible sleeper. Feel for you guys that also have children who are terrible sleepers. So we'll be up, at 5:30, 6:30 almost every day. Take 15 minutes, wake up, eat some breakfast, and then I hand them off to my wife. Is maybe terrible as that sounds, but that is my time to work because she doesn't have anything to do at 6 in the morning. She's more on the phone. I am not. So I'll get a good 2 hours in before most people even start their day or leave their house for an office job. Then around 8:30, she's firing up her laptop, getting ready for her work day. We'll hand back off. I'll play with the kid. Maybe he didn't eat yet, so I'll feed him breakfast. Also, 3-year-olds, horrible eaters. We'll get him ready for his 3 hours of school for the day. Drop him off, come home, and then that is crunch time. It is cramming as much as we can into those 3 undisturbed hours of work. We'll pick him up, we get some lunch, and he naps still, thankfully. So there is another solid 2 hours of undisturbed work, on any given day. So by 2:30, I have, anywhere from 6 to almost 8 hours of work in. So then after that, we'll trade back. She'll probably have more calls to make. This is obviously, meetings. We switch off, we make it work. But then by 3:30, 4 o'clock, that's it for me. I'm done. Like I said, depends on the day, but I've got 8-9 hours of work in at that point. My wife will probably still be working. Usually works till 4:30, 5 o'clock some days. So then it's just father-son time, which I would not trade for the world. The flexibility is great working from home. I preface this with I've never been more stressed in my life the last 3 years trying to balance this act. Like I said before, we have it down to pretty much a science at this point, and it works really well. The balance. So what's it like being a business owner, an employee, and a father? Everything falls on you. Obviously more business related than the fatherhood, but there are really no days off. I'll work a couple nights if I have to, work later, earlier. I'll pretty much always put in a couple hours on the weekend, whether that's running a payroll, reporting, whatever can help catch me up for the week on the off chance, sickness hits this house, which really throws everything into into chaos. But, you have to find that balancing act. But again, I wouldn't trade it for anything. The flexibility is just something that, makes it all worth it. And this time now, time goes so fast, and it's hard to believe that my son's been here for 3 years, a little over 3 years now. It just flies. They say the days are long, but the years are short, and that is so true in parenthood. And just some final takeaways from what it's like being a business owner and a father and an employee. For me, it took a little bit. I really wanted to grow this business, but realized, we only have such a limited amount of time with our kids before they want nothing to do with us. They grow up very fast. So family first. By 3:30, 4 o'clock, I put my phone on sleep mode. I try really hard to be present because you never know when the last time your kid wants to play cards with you, or he always wants to watch videos on dad's computer, and I try and really just savor every minute of that. And it's about establishing boundaries with your clients, so they know what to expect and you know what to expect from them. Asana has been a big help. I use it for basically a workflow, my tasks. I said 35 to 40 clients is a lot to manage because we're a pretty boutique service. So we do as little as just your transaction entry, categorization, and bank reconciliations up to, like I said, full charge bookkeeping, payroll, sales tax filings, bill pay, client invoicing. So it's you definitely need to have a plan in place. And if this hasn't been made clear, trust me when I say this, success takes hard work. Right now I'm making this video on a Sunday afternoon when I could be doing something else, but I'm trying to put out more content for you guys, give you a deep dive into what it's like being a full-time bookkeeper, full-time business owner, and a full-time dad, and how to balance all of that. So if you weren't sure, look at the beginning of this video for a recap. And that's it. It's stressful, but it's worth it. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below, and stay tuned for more.